All right, good morning out there at Deep Run. Today we've got a number of topics to talk about, and the first thing I want to talk about is something that it's very important. It's not really related to this specific course, but in general, you guys need to understand the importance of being responsible with the way you portray yourself on social media and other publicly accessible devices or sites. There was an incident with a student that put some inappropriate comments in Canvas, and they probably didn't think it was anything more than maybe a little silly, a little immature, but the comments that they made could be construed as the student having an inappropriate relationship with a faculty member, and that can cause a lot of issues. Those are reportable. It's no different than a student indicating that they brought a handgun to class. It's a reportable incident and starts a series of investigations that can have significant impacts on the student and the faculty member. I don't think there was any malicious intent. I don't think there was any impropriety. But you have to realize the potential consequences of your actions, and don't do something that could be misconstrued in a way that you didn't intend. If you look in the news, you'll see incidents all the time these days. We live in a hypersensitive society, and you'll see incidents all the time these days where politicians or public figures have something from their distant past that comes back to haunt them. We see the top 3 government officials in the state of Virginia dealing with those issues right now. And some of that may be that they did something very wrong. Some of it may have nothing to do with anything they did. We just don't know the facts of those cases enough to pass any kind of judgment. But the bottom line is, if you make a comment on a social media platform or any computer-based platform that's shared with another party in today's day and age, that could come back to haunt you 20, 30, 40, 50 years from now. And what may have been silly and funny in today's environment could cost you your job, cost you your livelihood years down the road. So just keep that in mind and make sure that when, the best advice is just to make sure that you are professional in your online interactions. If you have a close group of friends and you're a little less professional with them, keep in mind that someday those friends may be frenemies, or they may be, you may have some sort of falling out, and then something you did that you thought was private becomes public. You have to be aware of the potential consequences of what you do online. And hopefully you guys get the message. If you have any specific questions, I'd be happy to address those privately. But hopefully that's all I need to say on the matter. And make sure that you're conducting yourselves. I teach in a business school. We're especially sensitive to proper business communication. My university students, I dock their grade if they make some sort of inappropriate comment. I'm not docking anybody's grade in this case. But keep in mind that this is a business course, and you are kind of expected to conduct yourself in a manner appropriate for a collegiate business student. And that's all I'm going to say on the matter. Hopefully we won't have any more issues with it. Hopefully you guys are nearing the end of Project 1. You've been working on that, your photo editing project for a while now. And it is due Sunday before midnight. I will not be sitting at my computer Sunday at midnight to make sure that you're successfully able to upload your files. I plan to be out at my rural property this weekend. I probably won't have any email access Saturday or Sunday or phone access or anything. If you encounter some sort of an issue trying to upload it, you can email me, but we may have to wait until next week to work that out. The best advice is finish your work early with some time to spare and try to upload it where we've got time to work on those things. I will be in town pretty much all day tomorrow. I have a series of meetings that I have to go to tomorrow. So when you're in class, I'm recording this on Thursday night. You'll watch it on Friday morning. When you're in class on Friday morning, I probably will be in a meeting, so I probably won't be able to respond to you immediately if you shoot me a question via email. But I will get to you before the end of the day, I promise. So keep that in mind. Get that project finished up. I do expect you to submit it by Sunday night. And we'll start on your next project. Your next project is actually posted on Canvas for you already, and it is a group project. And here are the instructions. See if I can make those a little larger. Maybe you can read that. Looks like the whole thing is displayed. This is in a web frame. I can't quite control it like I do PowerPoints. It looks like the right-hand side of it is cut off a little bit. But you can read this. It's available to you on Canvas. What you're going to do is you're going to actually start working on your major project for the semester, which is your e-commerce site development. And what you're going to be doing is some planning activities for your e-commerce site. And I call this e-commerce site concept, developing your concept, what you're going to sell, who you're going to sell to, how you're going to market your products, those types of things, and build me a basic map of what you expect your site to look like, and identify the different users or different roles that you need of people to maintain the website. Examples of roles. If you have, well, you're going to have an e-commerce store. Maybe you need a store manager, and that would be a role on your website. Maybe you have a frequently asked questions page, and maybe you need a customer service manager to manage the frequently asked questions. Maybe you need a design manager or a designer to manage the look and feel of your website. This doesn't mean that one person in your group has to do all of the look and feel stuff because they're the design manager. Everybody can act in every role, but you need to define what those roles are and all the different people that you essentially need to run your website, to build and run your website. And that's what I'm looking for there. But your big task is obviously to figure out what it is you're going to sell and how you want to present your products and your other site features to your target customers so that you can get them to want to buy something on your website. I give you a brief synopsis. Stand by. I have automated lights here. They go off if I don't move after a little while. I give you a brief synopsis in these instructions for the assignment of what I want, but this is not all-encompassing. It's intended to be a guide for you. What I want you to do is think about this as I'm building a business plan. I'm making the blueprint for how I'm going to develop my website. What is important for our website to be successful? And I want you to think of all those things. I've given you some key things to think about in this document. I've given you some more key things to think about in the Canvas narrative for the assignment. But you are free to add to those. Whatever you think is, think of me as an investor or a potential investor in your website. What would you want to communicate to a potential investor to get them to invest in your website? That's what you want to tell me. You want to show me what the finished product's going to look like. You want to tell me what the pages are. You want to tell me how you're going to market your products. You want to tell me if you're going to compete on price or if you're going to compete on being exclusive, or if you're going to compete that your products are helping save the planet. There's a lot of ways that you can frame your product sales to compete with other companies. You have to figure out what your strategy is for doing that. And that's something your group will be working on. Speaking of groups, I don't know, by the way, I mentioned in here under the sitemap, if you have access to Microsoft Visio, it's a nice program for building flow charts and site charts and any kind of chart or map. You can make floor plans for buildings. You don't have to do that. But Visio does those kinds of things if you have it available. If you don't have it available, don't worry. You can use Microsoft Word's drawing tools to do everything you need to do for this assignment. Visio just makes it look more professional. Anyway, read through all of these things that I tell you to do and make sure that your group is doing all of them. You have a fairly substantial amount of time to work on this next project, but it's going to take you some time to all agree as a group and to think through your concept. Sometimes groups will think and say, oh, we're going to sell cars, and then you start thinking about all that goes into selling cars, and you say, you know what, this is not what we want to do. Let's go back and we're going to sell shoes or jewelry or something else. So sometimes you may have to start over. You work on an idea for 2 or 3 days, and then you find out it's not going to work, and you start over with a new idea. So leave yourself plenty of time as a group to work on this and flesh out your idea and have a solid idea of what you're going to do before the due date for this assignment. Speaking of due dates, I'm going to go over here to a Canvas screen, and I'm sorry I can't really make this one any larger. This particular, I don't think so. Let me try this. I don't think it will. Yes, it does. Make it a little larger there so you can see some of it. I'm in my student view of Canvas, which is a funny thing because even though it's a student view, it's supposed to show me what you see. It doesn't do that. But I'm going to show you a couple of things in it for a specific reason. So you'll see the site or the project listed there. You'll notice the due date is March 29th. That is different than what is on the syllabus. The reason is the next week after, when I originally planned it, I had an amount of time I wanted to give you for this project. Turns out that the original due date was the week after your spring break, and I thought that was a bad idea. So I made it due before your spring break so that you could finish it and not worry about trying to work on this project over your spring break. So that's why the due date for the assignment has changed and it has moved earlier So keep that in mind. This is a group project. I allow the students to self-select their groups for the most part. If you look under the People tab on Canvas, you will see now that you have some groups available. My view shows groups. Yours should say something like e-commerce website, I think is what I called it. So I created groups for you to sign up. If I click on that tab, you should see a list of groups for your class. You need to pick people in your class for this project. Now, the two classes the two sections, Block 2 and Block 4, have a different number of people in them. After studying that, I decided that the best thing to do was have 4 people per group, which will give us 16 people, and then one section has 17 people in it, so there will be one odd person left over, and they will be able to join one of the groups as a 5th person. And in the other block, there's 18 people, so we will have 2 extra people that will join as a 5th person to a group. There will be plenty to do whether you have 4 or 5 people in your group. So make sure you're involved in contributing, because I will surely hear about it if you're not pulling your weight as far as the group is concerned. So when you have a group of 4 people that want to work together on this project, you can choose one of these site slots and sign your group up, have all 4 people sign up at essentially the same time, or one right after the other or something like that, and claim that spot. What I don't want you to do is go out and claim a spot before you have a group formed. So form your group first and then claim a spot. Otherwise, I'll have 4 groups with 1 person in them, and every group of 4 won't have a spot to sign up. In which case, if that happens, I will simply kick out the people that have an incomplete group. If you have less than 4 people signed up, and somebody says, hey, there's not a spot for me to sign up and I have 4 people, I'm going to give you 5 minutes. If you don't have your complete group signed up in 5 minutes, I'm going to wipe you all out of it. So sign up for a group when you know who you want in your group, and then I'll deal with the people that are the odd person out. After that, I'll ask them what group they want to join, and if it's okay with the group, I will add them. They won't be able to add themselves because you're limited to 4 people per group. Otherwise, if I don't limit you to 4 people per group, I'll have the first 3 groups that sign up will put 5 people in a group, and then there will be 1 person left by themselves, or 2 people left by themselves. So I limit it to 4, but then I will fix that and put that extra person in the group of their choice, as long as the group is okay with that. You'll be able to do that after the video today. You'll be able to start signing up for your groups. That should be available to you right now. If it's not available and you can't sign up for groups, somebody shoot me an email and let me know, because I've set it up and my student view, like I said, my student view looks different. I can't test it to see if I can sign up for a group. It doesn't let me, but it should let you sign up for a group. So that's all set up in Canvas for both sections of the course. Hopefully you won't have any problems with that. Sign up for a group soon. If you don't sign up for by next week, I probably by the end of the day, or maybe even before Wednesday, you have your accelerator project time on Monday, but if you're not signed up by Wednesday morning before class, I will assign you to a group. And if I assign you to a group, I'm going to ask, who do you not get along with? And I'm going to deliberately assign you to a group with people you don't get along with. So avoid that by signing up for a group with people that you do get along with and that you do want to work with. You have to do this as a group effort. So if you have questions about the assignment, email me. Again, I'll be in meetings while you're watching this, but I will get back to you and try to clarify things for you. So this will be what you'll start working on in your project time next week after you submit your photo editing project that's due Sunday. So you'll have another project to work on, but you can go ahead and pick your groups starting today. All right, I'm going to get off of that and move on to what I really wanted to cover today for the lecture material. And you may have been wondering, I skipped over a lecture on video processing for the web, and we've been a day ahead of the schedule for a few periods, and that was deliberate. I've added some things since I wrote the syllabus that I wanted to cover in lectures, and I knew I was going to need some days to do that. And one of those things was to talk about the importance of creating a good user design. Just remembered one more thing before I get into this lecture. I want to show you some examples of websites that students have created in this course using the same DNN package that you'll be using, and show you what they look like so that you'll have an idea maybe of what you want to do for your project. So before I do this, let me get out of this. And I'm going to pull up some websites on one of my servers that I have here at Longwood. And as we get closer, get the lights back on here. As we get closer to actually starting to work on the web server, I'll give you more detailed instructions on how to log into it, connect to it, and things of that nature. I'm starting out with a kind of a poor effort, so you can see some of the difference between a not so great effort by a student group and a better effort by a student group. And so this is a group, they called their website HATS, and they're hats.com. You can make up whatever your name is, but they have a pretty basic background. It doesn't look very good, and they've got a big white box on here. Doesn't look very good. And of course, you know that you can edit look and feel of these types of things by creating CSS and HTML and managing that. And so there's a lot of opportunity to make things better as opposed to these people tried to apply a default template to their web page, and it really didn't work for what they were trying to do. But they do have, in addition to their home page, on their menu here, they have an online shop. By the way, you can register for an account on their site or log into their site, which is something you'll need. They have an online shop, and the server's a little slow the first time you go to things. It tends to be much faster after it displays a page one time. And I'm trying to make sure it's not too cut off for you guys, that you can see essentially the whole thing. And so here they have some different hats. They're selling hats. And they have hats, and they have some functionality in here. I can buy a hat. I can buy this cowboy hat by clicking on the little cart symbol to add it to my cart, or basket as it's called in this case. And just because I will add another one, I'll add this red Coca-Cola drinking cap to my basket. Something that students do sometimes, if you have the capacity to do this, sometimes students, they might show the students in the group wearing all the different hats. Of course, that requires that you have access to the hats and you can take photos of them. But I've had students do that, and it really adds a touch of flair to the website if you do things like that. So personalize it, make it fun, but make it functional as well. So I've added 2 items to my basket now. If I go over to my basket, it will show me what's in my shopping cart or my basket and allow me to go on and complete the purchase. If I do this, it asks me to log in. I can actually log in. There's a super user account for the website. If I log in here, it ought to let me complete the sale. So they've got their site set up to where you have to log in order to make a purchase. You don't have to set your website up that way, but it might be a good idea to do that. And I've done this before on this website, so I'm just going to put some information in here, fake information. And I have to tell it down at the bottom that I'm in the United States. This website, they said they are going to sell to the United States and Canada. So those are the only 2 options I have here. I can change this. I can sell to any list of countries I want to configure the software for. If I go to the US, it asks me what state I'm in. I'll just pick Georgia because it's there. And I click on next, and it gives me a total of my order. I didn't get any discounts, but I did get free shipping, and it is collecting tax on my purchase. And it wants to force me to get its newsletter, but I don't want their newsletter, so I'm going to deselect that. One thing I have to do with the deep run classes that I don't do with my university classes. In my university classes, I teach them how to process credit card transactions. And I use the PayPal sandbox to do that. I will show you, I will demonstrate to you how that's done. Unfortunately, PayPal's terms of service prohibit anyone under 18 from creating an account in the PayPal sandbox. We could lie to them and tell them you're over 18, but that would not be ethical for us to do that. So we have to forego that opportunity because of age issues. So instead, you'll just say, I'm sending a check. You know, we're paying the last century way with a check. And so I just tell them continue. And then it gives me my order number and says, okay, we assume you're mailing your check, which is the way businesses used to do business. I could view my order. Should come up here in a second. And this is just a list of my orders, and I can go in and look at them. And basically I can see that this one has been paid for. There's other statuses showing, you can't see these other statuses on here, but there's other statuses showing that an item has shipped, or in this case payment hasn't been verified, or things of that nature. But we will go through some of this as we get further into the semester and start actually using the software. But for now, we can complete an order other than we can't process a credit card transaction because of PayPal's restrictions on age. But I don't want to spend too much time on this. What I want to show you instead is another website, another student website. So keep in mind what this website looked like. I would call this a poor effort, and it would probably get a marginal grade. By the way, you can make payments in different, you don't have to make payments in dollars, you can make payments in euros. I had a group that they targeted a Jewish audience and took payments in shekels. That's perfectly fine. That's your choice. Here's a website that's selling women's shoes. They have a custom logo up here in the corner that they created. They've got some nice graphics. Their web page looks a lot more inviting. Their home page looks a lot more inviting than what you saw on the previous site. Turns out that, I'm not going to go through all of this, but some of their functionality doesn't work, so that's an issue. If I go to the shop, we can, they only have one category because they only sell women's shoes, but they could have been more creative. Instead of having one category and saying women's shoes, they could have had pumps and sandals and heels and whatever the other categories of women's shoes are. I don't really know. I'm not an expert in that area. But they have items that are on sale, that are marked with an on sale banner. They show their sale price. You can go into these items and purchase them. And let me just go into, notice this site does not have the shopping cart available on this page, but you can click on the magnifying glass to get more details. The reason you can't add it to your cart on this page is because the previous website made an assumption that all hats are of a single size, which is probably a really bad assumption. But the people that did this website said, hey, shoes come in different sizes and maybe different colors. So you have to pick a specific option. So if I go to a product details page, I'll see that I have a bunch of sizes of products to choose from. And I have multiple images. I can look at the side of the shoe. I can look at the heel of the shoe. So I have some more flexibility with my product there that I didn't have on the previous site. You can do, the e-commerce platform supports sizes and colors. I could have multiple colors. I could have a size 6 in gray and a size 6 in red and all kinds of options like that. It's quite flexible if you really take the time to learn how to use it. But I would say this is a substantially better website than the first one I showed you. It has, again, it has some functionality issues that I won't show you, and that would probably hurt their grade. And then here's another one, and this in particular site, this site was created by 4 Deep Run High School students, much like what you'll be working with. And they made a highly attractive front page to their website. They have a custom logo and custom name, multiple collections that you can look at. If I click on collections, they have a baby blue collection, an in bloom collection, and a denim collection. So they have even sub-collections to their collections. Their web page looks fairly attractive. They even listed the members of their team on the website and their ages and their roles, founder, co-founder, designer, and designer. Maybe not the most expressive roles, but it's kind of a nice touch. Some of these things are clickable, some of them are not, but I'm going to go over here to the shop, and some of the features that they have on their website aren't even really noticeable by the end user. But you will present your website to me and your peers in your course, and maybe some of my colleagues, and when you present your website, you'll be able to tell the audience about the features that they might not see, and that's how you present your website in its best light. For example, I'll go down here to this shoe. Woman's multicolored platform sandals. They have various sizes listed here, and if you buy a size, if you try to buy a size that's out of stock, it actually won't show up. So I took it off a little while ago. The 6.5 size was out of stock, and when the 6.5 size is out of stock, it just doesn't show up as being available. And so they're actually not letting the users select a product that isn't available. You may think there's better ways to do that, and you might be right. Might be that you don't want to make it disappear. You want to make it show up and say out of stock, so somebody knows, hey, we normally carry that size, but it's out of stock. There are different ways to do that. This is a much better website overall than the previous two that I showed you. It still lacks a sense of community. If you go here, pretty much all you can do is buy something. There's no information about the company. There's no customer interaction. There's no chat option that you can chat with a sales representative if you want to know more about a product. There's no customer feedback. There are a lot of features that you can add to a website, what we call value-added features, that make it a better user experience for your customer. And that's one of your tasks in Project 2, is to think about value-added features that you can add to your website. Now, that should give you a good idea. I'm just going to show you those 3 websites for right now. That should give you a good idea of what the end product is going to be. It's going to be an e-commerce website selling something, whatever you choose to sell. Make it interesting, make it fun, but try to make a sophisticated website that has as many features as possible. That's going to get you the best grade. I'm not going to show you some of at least one of the sites I showed you was a university group, and this one was a high school group. The other one I'd have to think about what it was. But the bottom line is, I showed you sites that are appropriate for high school students. Some of my university students have sites with selling alcohol or other things that aren't appropriate for high school students. And one of the restrictions for this project is you're not allowed to sell anything that would be considered inappropriate by your deep run standards. You know what they are. I've had university groups that sell lingerie. We're not going to do that. We're going to stick to wholesome website development, for lack of a better word. So keep that in mind. And your website will be publicly available, so your parents can go look at it So don't do anything that your parents would be embarrassed by, or that your school officials would get mad at and potentially punish you for. That's kind of the rules for doing this, so keep those rules in mind when you start thinking about what you want to do for your website in Project 2. Let me get out of that. I don't need that anymore.